Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about whether or not you can trust Rover. Now that's a huge topic of debate right now, as there are millions and millions of people that are using Rover and having a fantastic experience, but there is also a much darker underside of it, in which there are some really, really terrible Rover sitters that are losing dogs, they're accidentally killing dogs, letting dogs kill each other, and there are even some malicious ones that are going online and selling other people's purebred dogs, just disguised as a dog walker. So, it's really, really important that you first understand what Rover is, and second, understand what you need to do in order to find the best quality babysitters for your dog. That's super critical, super important. Nobody wants to lose a puppy. Unfortunately, there are dozens of people that have, and our hearts go out to those people. It is totally understandable why there are full groups dedicated towards don't trust Rover. It's a big thing, and it is a massive blow to somebody to lose their dog, and we don't want that for anyone. And so we're here to try and help you best find the best sitters. So first, you need to understand what Rover is and what your responsibility is when using this site. So Rover is not a dog-sitting service. It is a service that connects you to other dog sitters. Don't trust it just because it's on Rover. I know that Rover touts that they do a lot of different safety stuff, and they have background checks for everyone, and we're going to go over those background checks in a sec. But at the end of the day, it is on you to make sure that you find a good Rover sitter. It is up to you to make sure that you put your fur baby in the best hands that you can possibly find. And that's what we're here to help you do. So the first thing are the Rover background checks. Now, Rover does a pretty extensive onboarding process. A lot of people think it should be more extensive, but there's only so much that they can do. That's why the end responsibility needs to be on you. But their background checks check one thing and one thing only, whether or not they have a criminal history and what that criminal history is. So it doesn't actually verify that they know anything about dogs. It doesn't verify that they know how to take care of dogs. It does, however, verify that they haven't in the past been found to abuse animals or people or have large felonies and stuff like that. So that is a good sign, but it's not a thorough sign. It's not a complete, all-encompassing thing that verifies that they're actually good at what they do. And so that's massively important to understand. Even the gold checks that my wife and we ended up doing still kind of check the same thing. It's just on a more intensive, more national scale. It checks whether or not we have a criminal history anywhere across the U.S. And that background check did come out of our own pocket. So there, yeah, you have the blue ones and then you have the gold ones. The blue ones are just the standard. Everybody on Rover has to do them in order to be accepted. And then the gold ones, that actually comes out of pocket from the Rover sitter themselves. And so that can be a great indication that the person takes this seriously. That they're not just hopping on and they're babysitting a couple of dogs. They're actually investing into their business as dog sitters. And that can be a great sign. It can show you that they are probably going to also invest in other areas, like upgrading their home in order to be more dog-friendly, maybe investing in more gates so that way if two dogs don't get along, that they keep themselves separated. It shows that they're willing to invest, and that's massively important. But it does not guarantee you that they are a good sitter, so don't solely rely on that. Alright, the second thing that you want to make sure that you do in order to verify they're a good sitter is have a meet and greet. Now, I'm not going to go into super depth on this one, because most people on Rover already know what a meet and greet is. If you've ever used it, you're almost guaranteed to have already done one, unless it was really last minute. Meet and greets give you an opportunity for the dogs to meet each other. If the person is comfortable, they'll let you into the home in which they're going to be watching your dog, and that ends up being a really good sign, because they're comfortable showing what they've done in order to make sure that your dog is safe. Now, there are some sitters that don't like to do meet and greets, and honestly, I feel like that's kind of understandable. Having a whole bunch of strangers coming into your home is a little bit nerve-wracking, especially for people that tend to be vulnerable to things like home invasions. People that live alone, people that are a little bit like sick or frail and wouldn't be able to defend themselves if someone were to burgle their home. That's pretty important. And the different Rover sitters might be concerned about their safety. And so if they don't want to do a meet and greet in their home, that's not necessarily a red flag. But if you are really concerned about it, I would just find somebody that can do a meet and greet in their home, so that way you can just verify. It's always really nice to be able to do that. But not having a meet and greet isn't a red flag. Or meet and greet in their home. They should do a meet and greet somewhere. They can do it in a public place. But yeah, you should do a meet and greet. So the third thing that you want to make sure is that they have good reviews. Now that's super self-explanatory. Every website essentially has some kind of review system for you to tell that they're a good sitter. Or a good product or a good service or good whatever. But there are two different types of reviews that you need to take into consideration. There are verified stays, which are verified people that actually went on Rover, they actually boarded with that sitter, and then they reviewed afterwards. Those ones are the most trustworthy. And then you have non-verified stays, which just won't have the verified stays button on it. And those ones, if they only have non-verified stays, that's probably a really big red flag. Now, in the beginning, a lot of Rover sitters will do some non-verified stays just to kind of like when you're on the street playing guitar and you throw in a couple of dollars just to try and convince people, oh, okay, he's worth giving money to. That's fair. There are lots of Rover sitters that'll do that to start off. So we had 3 people from my wife's past experience when she was doing dog stuff in the past come on and leave a review, even though they weren't a verified stay. However, if over time they continue to have more and more people that aren't verified stays, that's a red flag. If, like, there are just a couple at the beginning and then the rest are verified stays, that's a good sign. So number 4 are going to be repeat clients. Now, repeat clients are a good sign because it means that people like them enough that they're going to come back to them. That's fantastic. Pretty self-explanatory. However, on Rover, it's important to note that not a lot of people book multiple vacations within the same year. So, even if a Rover parent ended up boarding their dog with a sitter and absolutely loved them, but then just didn't go on vacation for another year and a half, they wouldn't be a repeat client for a really, really long time. So for Rover sitters that haven't been on the platform very long, they're going to have almost no repeat clients. This is more of an indication of how long they've been on the platform in addition to how good they are at doing their job. Because if they have no repeat clients, but they've been there for a long time, people don't like them. If they have no repeat clients and they've been there for a short time, but everything else looks good, chances are they're just appealing to people that don't take a lot of vacations. Especially for the ones that tend to price themselves down lower. Those appeal to the people that can't afford to board their dog often. So, that one is kind of a tricky one. You just have to take it with a grain of salt. But if you find somebody with a lot of repeat clients, that's a great sign. If they don't have a lot of repeat clients, there could be 2 reasons why. One of them good, one of them bad. All right, number 5 is photo updates. Now, this photo update is just a percentage of how many clients boarded with them that the sitter actually sent a photo to the person on the Rover app. And these are fantastic. It's a great way for you to stay connected with your dog as they're off. You know the conditions of the home. You know how they're getting along with other people. It's a fantastic way to connect. However, only about half of the people that we've sat have actually asked for photo updates. And so in the beginning, we were only sending photo updates to the people that we thought actually wanted it, which was about half. And so that's an important thing to keep in mind. If they're right at 50, they're doing exactly what they think you want and nothing more. If they're above 50, chances are they're probably a little bit overbearing. We try and do photo updates as often as possible, but we try not to bug people, so we'll usually do just one over the course of the week if they're staying for a week. If they didn't ask for it, and if they seemed to like it, then we'll send some more. But if you're the type of person that just kind of wants to place your dog somewhere and then go and have a fun vacation and just come back, and you don't want to be bothered during that time, those people above 50% are definitely going to feel overbearing. If they're significantly less than 50%, chances are that they're not taking customer relationships seriously. They're not taking the relationship that they have with you, they're not deeming it important. And so that could be a bad sign. It could be that they're just putting your dog in their home, and they kind of don't really care what happens after that point. They just want to get paid. It could be that they really, really care about the dog and just don't care about you, but still, that's kind of a yellow flag. You just want to be careful with those people that have significantly less than 50% photo updates. So the last thing are how many dogs they take in at a time. Now, it's super easy to overlook because it's actually really, really small. They place it underneath the calendar in just one little line of text that's like tiny. And that's super important. You want to make sure that your dog is actually given the attention that they need. And so if you go to a meet and greet and they have this tiny little apartment that's don't really have very many different dog things in it, and it looks really cramped, and they take 5 or 6 dogs at a time, it's a massive red flag. They're just in it for the money. They're just trying to cram as many dogs in there as possible. I wouldn't trust that. If they have a really, really large yard and they have various activities for the dogs to do, if they have mental stimulation toys, if they have lots of different stuff that your dogs can do and they take 5 or 6, that's a totally different story. It's important to make sure that you're comfortable with the amount of dogs that are going to be there. And just assume that the maximum that they take is how many there are going to be there. Because you never know. People book last minute on Rover all the time, so even if you do come to agreement and they're like, oh yeah, there aren't any other dogs, you can show up the next day and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, now we have 5 dogs plus your dog. And it's just absolute chaos. So you want to make sure that the number isn't as important as the home that they're going to be staying in. Just make sure that the home is well equipped for the number that they've decided to take on, and you're golden. And that's it for the video. Rover can be a fantastic place for your dogs. If and only if you take responsibility. You need to make sure that you find a Rover sitter that is good for you, because majority of them are pretty good. Some of them are great. Some of them are terrible, and it's going to impact your dogs and their experience. So make sure that you take responsibility, you look out, you trust your gut, but take the time to actually look through these various things. And if you want more stuff to consider, we also have a great article on all of the different things that you can ask during the meet and greet. If you're on the website, it'll be off to the side. If you're in YouTube, it'll be down in the description. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again.